So Ilhan Omar has gotten the ire of the right in recent days. I mean, when does she not get the ire of the right? But it's really ramped up because of this video that came out where she's talking at some Somalia conference. And she said some things that are basically leading the right to come to the conclusion that she hates America, she doesn't represent America, she's like a Manchurian candidate, and like Somalia is taking over the country. So I know it sounds goofy, I know it sounds absurd, I know it sounds over the top. Let me play for you her comments here. And she's talking in a different language, so I'm going to go ahead and just read it for you as we go here. But I'm going to give you Ron DeSantis' reaction, and, you know, we'll talk about just how over the top these people are. So she says, "We as Somalians, we love each other. There are areas of friction, and that led us to kill each other. But in reality, we are an organized society. Brothers and sisters, people of the same blood, people who know they are Somalians first, Muslims second, who protect one another, come to each other's aid, and to the aid of other Muslims too. A couple of days ago, we heard some people who call themselves Somalis, or claim to be Somalis, have signed an MOU with Ethiopia on access to the sea. I do not even know what an MOU is in Somalia. An agreement." She's struggling to say that because she's sort of rusty with her speaking in this language. "Oh yeah, an agreement. I am sorry, my grasp of the Somali language is atrocious. What a shame." Again, an uncomfortable laughter. "Many Somalians have personally called me to encourage me to speak to the U.S. government to thwart the MOU and help Somalia. They wanted to know what the U.S. government could do for Somalia to ensure the MOU never turns into a full bilateral agreement. My answer to Somalians was that the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interests of Somalia." Okay, so I'll stop there. It all goes on in the same vein as that. Basically, what she's saying is, there's some agreement that was made between the government of Somalia and the government of Ethiopia. I think it's to give Ethiopia access to a part of the sea. And people who are nationalists in Somalia don't like this. They don't want to give Ethiopia access to the sea. So she's taking like a very nationalist Somalia, pro-Somalia position here. And you saw she goes on to say, like, we're Somalians first, we're Muslims second. And people are pointing out, well, hold on now, you're a U.S. congressperson. You know, how dare you? Why is it not America first and Americans first? And, you know, our brothers and sisters of all different faiths in America. Like, why, you know, how could you say this as a U.S. congressperson? And then Ron DeSantis chimes in and says, "Expel from Congress, denationalize, and deport." Expel from Congress, denationalize, and deport. Or denaturalize, I should say, and deport. I'm not even sure denationalize is the thing. Denaturalize and deport. So what's going on here? What's going on is very simple. We have, for a very, very long time in this country, we've had Irish Americans feel a particular kinship and brotherhood with other Irish Americans. When it comes to religions, Catholics do it with Catholics, Protestants do it with Protestants. When it comes to, I mean, look, part of my family comes from Italy. The Italian American community does a similar thing. There are Italian American clubs, and they talk about how, you know, we're proud to be Italian, even though at this point everybody in the freaking room is American when they say these things. This is a thing that has happened forever. That people feel a specific kind of kinship with close family members and people who are from roughly the same place as they were when you go back and look at the ancestry. And in this case, the reason why they're so pissed off, let's keep it real, is because she's black and because she's Muslim. And she said those words, again, context matters. She said it to a room full of Somali Americans. So, look, if you want to make some sort of highfalutin argument about, yes, every American politician should first and foremost put the concerns of all Americans on the table, I actually agree with that. But the reason why I can't take the criticism of Ilhan seriously here is because this is your concern about foreign interference in the American government, is Somalia gaining a foothold in the government and getting whatever they want. Hey, Ron DeSantis, I got news for you. Representative Brian Mast, a Republican congressman, was literally wearing the uniform of the IDF, a foreign military, in Congress and bragging about his loyalty and his allegiance to Israel. And nobody said a single goddamn word about, oh, you're not putting America first. How dare you? How dare you prioritize Israel over the United States of America? How could you? The only people who were making that point were lefties. So if you're concerned about foreign interests, sort of stealth getting into the U.S. government and in a Manchurian candidate type way, getting whatever they want, probably dead last on that list would be Somalia's interests to me. At the very top of the list, Israel and Saudi Arabia. I can't even tell you how many elected officials in the U.S. swear loyalty and fealty to Israel and go exactly where that AIPAC money tells them to go. You have 70 to 80% of the country wants a ceasefire, but like 15 or 20% of politicians in D.C. want a ceasefire. Gee, I wonder why that is. Could it be because of the big money that's spent in politics, the lobbyists? Could it be because of that? Could it be because of the campaign contributions? Could it be because of the open corruption and bribery? So look, let me be clear. I would have no problem with people going after Ilhan Omar about this if they were consistent and they kept everything in context and they were first and foremost pissed off about the Israeli influence in our politics and the Saudi influence in our politics. Then I'd get it. I'd say, okay, look, this person's consistent. They'd also have to throw in there some stuff about, Italian-American groups shouldn't be like they are. Irish-American groups shouldn't be like they are. They're too insular. They're too tribalist. So, you should always put Americans first. I'm going to criticize the Italian-American groups and the Irish-American groups and politicians who wave one flag or the other, right? If you're consistent, totally fine. Go after the influence of Israeli politics in this country. Go after the interest of Saudi politics in this country. Go after the little tribalist groups, and then also say it about Ilhan Omar, no problem. Because at least you're consistent. The logic makes sense. But they want to expel her from Congress, denaturalize and deport over basically a very obvious politician-y speech in front of a room full of Somali Americans where she says, I'm a Somali American and I'm proud to be a Somali American and I think of Somalis and I think of Muslims first. And, oh yeah, here's a hyper-nationalist point about the government of Somalia where they shouldn't have given Ethiopia access to the sea or whatever the fuck. So, look, that's my takeaway from this. I really don't want to hear a single guy. If you didn't say a word about Brian Mast dressing in the uniform of a foreign military, if you didn't say a word about the multiple elected politicians who basically fell all over themselves to say to Israel, anything you want, any second of the day, yes, sir. And now you criticize Ilhan Omar, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. The idea that, Somali influence in our government is going to be the undoing of it, it's absolutely laughable. It's absolutely laughable. And I think everybody who's criticizing her should be honest. Unless they're consistent, which they're not, they should be honest and realize, why are you actually pissed off at her? Because she happens to be black, she happens to be Muslim, and any sort of tribal instinct on that front is condemnable to you. But if it's a tribal instinct for Italians who are for Italians, or Irish who are for Irish, or Catholics who are for Catholics, or Protestants who are for Protestants, or American politicians who are subservient to the Israel lobby, that's totally fine in your mind. And there's a double standard there, and these people need to try to realize why there is a double standard. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.